Welcome to Solarpunk Life.
Recently, Joe and I took the crew to Roanoke, Virginia, where we had a very nice sit-down with our friend Mark Davis. Mark is an artist, Mark is a teacher, and Mark is very active within his community. He's also a friend of the show and a friend of the movement. You may see him on our social media feeds. He's very active and very vocal.
What we did was we had a series of conversations with Mark, and we thought we would break it up into multiple episodes and make a little series out of it. So this is the first in the series where we talk about the Nirvana Fallacy. Let's get into it.
What about now? Okay.
Electric Antlers. That's our band name.
It's a Solarpunk xenomorph over here.
That's right.
Carries his lighting with him. Absorbs solar lighting all day and just emits it when he has to.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah. He's an NPC. We call him Novella because he's always sitting there with a book.
So one topic we definitely wanted to cover today, we talked about this beforehand, is the Nirvana Fallacy.
Okay.
And so I thought maybe we just go ahead and start off with the topics we know we want to cover. So, real
Joe,
quick.
tell everybody what the Nirvana Fallacy is.
Oh, you're gonna bring it down to me. I see. Okay.
Yeah, I always do.
Kurt Cobain is actually alive and in Seattle now.
I was really going to do this one in a Nirvana shirt and ripped jeans and a flannel, but that's old Jason.
Right. So the Nirvana Fallacy.
Okay.
It is the misconception that you should not take any action unless that action is absolutely perfect.
I find this all the time when I'm trying to teach art. I get people who show up, they sit down at a potter's wheel, and 15 minutes later they say, well, I'm not good at this. Best case scenario, this takes a month to get up to crappy.
Right.
And people give up when 15 minutes are up.
Right. I like to say the first step of doing anything good is doing it really badly.
Yeah, right. If you want to be really good at something, go out and suck at it.
That's right out of Jake the Dog from Adventure Time. Getting good at something means sucking at it first.
And the problem happens not only in people sitting down and actually trying to do something, but even just trying to come up with solutions for problems.
And this is where the destructors come in. I'm just asking questions.
Right.
Well, what if someone's a one-legged pirate who has a blind dog, right? Stop it, right? It's like
I knew this guy once who got a free sandwich from McDonald's. So
right, yeah. So
that's
right.
bad.
Yeah.
And I think what it ends up doing is it ends up cutting off avenues of exploration, and it ends up sucking the oxygen out of the room. And you can't have a conversation when you've got a whatabouter in that conversation. You can't have a conversation when somebody is afraid to try. Those are like the two extreme sides of the Nirvana Fallacy. I can't try this because it's not perfect.
Or insulted because they came to the table with something and it got immediately shut down with the negative sides of we can't do this or we can't do that, because then it stops them from coming to the table with something again. And the whole point of an intentional community or a movement like Solarpunk is to incorporate ideas. So it would be, I come to the table with an idea X, all right? Mark is like, hey, that's great. Let's pick it apart.
Right.
Joe is like, that's never going to work. We can't do that.
He's like that.
Sometimes. No, he's not.
Or not even, that's never going to work. Let's not do that. It's like, oh, well, yeah, but that uses lithium, which is bad.
Yeah. So
Right.
rather than put the idea on the table and dissect it, you get that negative run. So you put the idea on the table and you dissect it. You take out the parts that don't work and you find the positive parts that do. And if you have to add more to it, you do that in a positive way. It's not dumping on somebody the minute they come up with something. We don't all agree on things. We're never going to agree on, Joe and I couldn't agree on how the lights work in this episode today. But when everybody is open to everyone else's ideas, things flow a little better.
I think the other dangerous thing that happens too is that people don't understand opportunity cost. And opportunity cost is when you fail to do something, it can cost you money, right? It's not so much that oh, I've tried something and it cost me money because it failed. But failure to try something can cost you in the long run as well. They say, it's really, really hard to win the lottery, for example, but you can't win if you never play, right? There's an opportunity cost in business. If you don't invest in your business, you'll never grow your business. That is an opportunity cost. And so those two things kind of work hand in hand in that from a Solarpunk perspective, if we don't start trying to fix things now with imperfect solutions, we're going to be stuck where we are with no solutions. And so we have to allow for imperfect solutions to whatever problems we have, or we're going to be stuck.
And there's an opposite end of that that's a problem too. It's the person who starts to read a little bit about recycling, and now they're going to blame every person after they've taken one drink from something about what. That's not the end all be all.
Right.
The opposite end of the Nirvana Fallacy is all your eggs in a basket with a hole in it.
Yeah.
Right. But the arts are where I see it played out all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect at this, so let's stop.
Right.
You also see it a lot in America, especially in arguments about legislation. Right. Well, if we make guns illegal, well, if we legalize drugs, well, I mean, yes, there will be a negative aspect to almost anything.
Right.
Everything's a cost-benefit analysis, and not everyone, so many of the people that we run into or so many people that you talk to, any cost is too much.
Right.
The way I saw this played out really well was one of the airlines decided they'd be letting on any emotional support animal someone brought. And a friend of mine said, great, I'm going to end up on the plane next to someone with a pony. I'm like, well, you can't not help people because someone may one time take advantage of this.
Well, there was that lady who tried to bring the emu on.
Somebody was traveling with a peacock, I read.
Maybe it was a peacock. It was a big fowl, not something you want to sit next to on an airplane. I'll sit next to a monkey all damn day. I'm not sitting next to an emu. It's just not happening.
So we're going to block 10,000 golden retrievers because one person travels around with an emu.
Yeah.
Right.
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 I want to live in a world where somebody travels with emus. Right.
I want to live in a world where the airlines have seats with an actual leg room.
It would be nice. I think we should all be issued a golden retriever when we show up to the airplane, right? It's a pretty anxiety-inducing experience.
Your flight puppy.
If you'll fold down your golden retriever in front of you, you can feel better about the flight.
This principle, and I actually this morning I was in the shower. Shower thoughts. No, I was thinking about in 9th grade. I had a science teacher who took part of a quarter. He took his entire class and taught etiquette and manners right out of Emily Post. Now, this was 25 years ago, maybe. I was in the 9th grade. And he went through everything. Taught you how to answer the phone. Taught you how to talk in polite company. Taught you how to dine. Taught you how to exist. Then he had like this big dinner at the end where everybody, dressed up in formals.
So a science teacher.
And yeah.
Use the right fork.
So it was kind of like a social sciences. So he got away with it, and it worked because it really educated people on what to do. But we moved on from that, and we moved into making rockets, like bottle rocket things. And I took mine up to his desk, and I said, "What do you think about this?" And he said, "I really like it. You've got aspects of this, this, and this." And I said, "I don't feel like I like it very much." And he looked right me dead square in the eye and said, "You learned nothing last quarter, did you?" And I stopped and I said, "I'm really sorry. I asked for your opinion. You gave it to me, and then I dumped on it." And he said, "Apology accepted." He said, "Just remember that. I think it's really good. It's not perfect, but you're doing a great job with it." He said, "But when you ask someone for their opinion and they give it to you, don't immediately be like, 'Well, I don't like it.'" He said, "Because it's insulting." That's always stuck in my head, that lesson plan and everything. And it popped back in this morning when I was thinking about how to set this episode up. So I thought I gotta go long-winded and tell that story. But this is exactly what we're talking about. It's not about being positive all the time.
No, definitely.
It's very hard to be positive all the time.
I do like to ask people, though, what kind of feedback do you want?
Yeah,
Like
he's very good.
We have this discussion a lot.
We have this discussion a lot.
Are you ranting or do you need advice? Do you want me to help you fix it?
Do you want help? Do you want a listening ear? And if you want help, what level of help do you want?
I always think about it as the ZW because when I'm painting, when I'm making things, I'll look at my wife and say, "Does that work?" And that work is or a nod, right? And then other times it's what do you think, or fill me in about this. And that's when you want somebody to expound upon what you're doing and give full critique. But the big ZW is, does that work?
Does that work?
And it's worked well between us.
Yeah, no, I like that. I do, I'm a software engineer, and so we do code reviews at work a lot of times. And so what that involves is me showing my work, my code to another person, and them going, and giving a value judgment on it. And so you can get everything down from, I think you need some more comments to support your code, or I don't understand what's going on, or why did you build it that way, right? And those are three entirely different levels of critique in my profession. Like if you were to go to somebody and say, does that work? And you're showing them a picture of the shape of a blue hippopotamus on a black field, and they go, why didn't you paint a pig?
Yeah, I like pigs, right? And the thing
That's
is,
not helpful.
what kills me about tying in with the Nirvana Fallacy and the people who come in with these things is, I always want to tell them, we don't have to go looking for failure. We can find it together real easily, right?
The devil doesn't need any advocates.
And you'll learn this when quickly in the art field, you get crushed out of it. If I sell to 1% of the people who show up at a show, I'm an amazing hero.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody hits 1%. If I were to sell 1% of the people in this county, people would come and write articles about how you pulled it off. We can find plenty of failure, right? Why are you bringing that to me? Shine it, polish it.
Right.
Make it work.
This comes back to something else that Mark has talked about a bunch. It's called the gross theory.
Gross theory is one of my favorites.
And so I'm going to let Mark expand on what the gross theory is.
A gross is 144. A gross is a dozen, right? Well, when we were becoming people, from becoming things that lived in trees and looked a lot like people but weren't quite, we ran around in about a gross. A gross of people is enough that we have enough genetic diversity that no one's giving birth to a blob, right? But it's not so many people that we can't find leftovers from the lions and berries on the bushes and feed us all. It's a really magical number to cruise around in. And in the modern world, especially with technology and communication, I live in a world of 8 billion. I don't live in a world of 144. So when I go to dance, I get compared to Gene Kelly, to Fred Astaire, whichever one of them danced. Gene Kelly, was he a cowboy?
They both dance.
They both dance. I get compared to Fred Astaire. If I want to sing, I get compared to some incredible singer. I think what's important to remember is we're meant to be in these groups of 144. And if we grabbed 144 random people off the street, I may be the best potter in the world, right?
In that world,
Yeah, in that world. And that's all we really should be aiming for. Be able to sing at your neighborhood picnic.
Yeah.
Right? Be the best painter in your neighborhood. Be the best darn Dan Attalist on 7th and Montrose, right? It doesn't, you don't have to be that exceptional to make an amazing contribution. I teach literacy, and there's teachers out there I'm sure do amazing things and go to conferences and stuff. I'd really like to be the best English teacher in this building.
Yeah.
Right? That's all I really need to make. That's an amazing contribution. But we're all pushed. If you don't dance like Britney Spears while singing like someone who doesn't use auto-tune, while being a jet mechanic and inventing radar like that Hollywood starlet all at once,
right?
We worship the apex of the pyramid, and those people are supposedly invulnerable, and the rest of us are walking around with pretty amazing skills. If you self-publish and 10 people buy your book, you're an amazing part of gross theory. Right? If 3 people chuckle when you tell a joke, you're an amazing comedian. You don't have to be on a night at the Apollo and make Saturday Night Live.
If 5 of you watch what we produce, all of our stuff, we're doing right.
Yeah.
That's our expectation. Is we want all the followers in the world are fantastic. Like and subscribe. But if there are that handful of you guys out there who really like what we put out and really follow everything, you've met our purpose. And 1, we thank you for that, and 2, that's the intent, is to not be the premier web series.
I was talking with
that. It's just to be the best we can be and be happy with what we put out.
I was in getting my car serviced, and the guy at the shop noticed my bumper stickers. And so we started up a conversation about things, because I got bumper stickers for bands that friends of mine do, for movies that they've produced. A review of the art of Dungeons and Dragons called Eye of the Beholder.
Yeah.
And of Dice and Men.
Such a
Right,
Probably some Kindred Crow in there.
got Kindred Crow on there, right?
Lost Colonies, soon to be Torkin.
Yeah, Toricon, yeah. So my bumper stickers now strike up a conversation. And I was talking about Solarpunk and Solarpunk Life and the channel and whatnot. And the guy immediately goes and pulls it up on his phone and goes, I'm going to subscribe to you, right? But he asked me, what's your goal for your channel? And without stopping a beat, I said, I want to change the world. But,
Yeah.
that's the goal.
Yeah.
But I'm not expecting to change the world entirely because of a video that I put out, right? I changed the world because I've changed one person.
You're not looking to
And they have-
restructure the entire economic system and the geosurface of the planet.
No, but if I
We
can
want to
affect...
change Joe's world and Jason's world.
Yes. And then that ripples out, right? And that grows. And, we've got people that are watching this channel now from all over. We have confirmed from Denmark, at least, right?
Sorry about that package.
If you want to know, everyone wants to tell you if you want to be powerful, you have to get all these people together, or you have to get a huge movement going. And they'll believe that when they're negative, but listen to them when they're negative in another way. They'll tell you, well, I can't anymore because of the feminists. How many people are we talking about? Because of the hard, I can't before because black people don't let me. I can't anymore because the politically correct won't let me, or the environmental lobby won't let me. That's a little tiny sliver of people, right? I think if you'll take a poll and look around, you'll find between 10 and 20%, it varies all over, of American population is homosexual. Some people say as little as 8. But you'll hear all the time how the gay mafia runs everything. Well, man, I didn't know I could take over with only 8%.
We did not know that he was going to say that, gay mafia. All right, I know. We're going to send you the money. Sorry.
It's but if people feel like they're being bullied by these minority groups, it must not take many people doing something different to make a huge difference.
Well, actually, it's kind of funny. I was going to say that I've read that it takes 3%. If 3% of a population in a country is very actively political, they can influence an election, they can influence policy. And what scares me about that, of course, is that when you look at the statistics, at least in America right now, at least 6 or 7% identify as white supremacists, which scares the crap out of me.
Are either of you familiar with 100th monkey theory?
No.
There was a book that came out in the 70s. It was anti-nuclear war, and the theory was the 100th monkey. And the story they tell, which I can't confirm, was that a group of researchers were on a small island off of Japan, where there's a string of islands.
Okay.
And they were observing some macaques. Now, like good scientists, they would never interfere with their subjects, so during lunch they'd cut off a piece of yam and throw it to a monkey. And a young monkey took one of these yams that had sand stuck to it, and they were always brushing off the sand and eating, and took it down and washed it in salt water. Well, when you take something sweet and put it in salt water, it gets sweeter and the sand comes off. And its mother watched it do this and started watching her yams. Then a third monkey started washing their yams, and this went up and up. And when the 100th monkey, theoretically, not exactly, started washing their yams, monkeys on the other islands started washing their food. Because we are part of a collective consciousness. And their theory when they wrote the book was, we'd like to disarm all nuclear weapons. We've got 99 of us. Would you like to be our 100th monkey? Right? Are you the 100th monkey? And there's a little drawing of a monkey on every page with a sign that said nuclear war is bad for flowers, bad for children, bad for Jason, bad for monkeys, right? And I've seen this over and over again. There is a tipping point in every situation. And people like to pile on after the tipping point.
Yes.
Think about how good it feels to be the last person before it tips. Right?
War period.
Right.
Not just nuclear, war period.
Yeah. Think about how good it is to be the first person on the teeter-totter, right? There's a tipping point there somewhere. Maybe it's 100, maybe it's 10,000, but it's not going to happen until we find out where it is.
Solar power is now confirmed to be the least expensive source of electricity in the world.
Makes sense.
It's less expensive than coal. It's less expensive than nuclear power. It's less expensive than anything else.
And it creates more jobs.
Cost per kilowatt hour. It also creates more jobs. And to bring it back to the Nirvana fallacy, you'll find people in solarpunk groups who are arguing against solar power because of the minerals that are necessary to make the panels are mined in some places in an unethical way.
So, and I think everyone's looking in the Nirvana fallacy for that perfection. And I like to bring them back to World War II. If your grandfathers went over to Europe and fought in World War II and the Nazis had held Germany, would you be ashamed of these people for fighting Nazis?
No.
Right? Sometimes you're going to fight and lose. There's a meme that goes around with Picard, and he says you can do all the right things.
That's my favorite, one of his favorite quotes.
Yeah.
That was
You
a
can
good
do
episode,
everything
too.
correct and still lose. That's not unfair. That's just life.
That's just life.
You have to fight the good fight. If you're not, please go home. I got somebody else who can put on that jersey.
Yeah, get out of the way.
Yeah.
Lead follower, get out of the way, right?
Lead follower, I will sit you down.
So let's wrap up the Nirvana fallacy conversation by saying, don't always look for the perfect solution right off the cuff.
Don't limit yourself. Don't let perfect become the enemy of good.
Don't let that be the enemy of process and progress.
Try things. Be a bad potter. Make a terrible song. Cook something for your friends that they kind of go,
And when someone brings that idea to the table, think about how you would feel if it was your idea and everybody stepped on it.
And don't just attempt it. If you don't mind me saying so, document it. We all, at this point, we curate our lives for the internet and for social media. I love to record my failures, right? I get a lot of people who ask me, I've had spills on paintings, I break things, and they're like, why do you post that? I'm like, I don't want you to feel bad about being you, right?
Yeah.
I'm not here for idolatry.
Oh, yeah.
I screw up a lot, right? And I think my screw-ups are pretty entertaining.
Well, and to continue from that, we learn from failure.
Yes, it's the only way we learn.
It's the only way we learn. And we can learn from other people's failures.
That's what makes us unique.
Yeah.
Well, unique-ish.
We're all unique.
So there you have it. There's the first in our series with Mark Davis, and we covered the Nirvana fallacy. Don't forget to like and subscribe, follow us on social media, and if you'd like to continue the conversation about the Nirvana fallacy, use those networks that we have set up, and we'd be more than happy to discuss it with you. And as always,
Do good.
be good.
We use this when we cut away because we screwed something up.
I used to get 3 minutes every Monday at the noon news at my local station in Bluefield to talk about arts. And I went out, and the first lady, even though I've been interviewed a lot, it's always been on the street and this was my first time. And I said, what do I do? She says, just no matter what you do, don't look at the camera. And what she meant was don't preach into the camera, right? And I came in, I interviewed, and I did this and this.
Yeah.
And I was like trying
Hiding
to
from the
like it was a weeping angel or something, right?
Make sure you like and subscribe to follow.
You want me to take that one?